Good morning. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is your host, Keely Austin, and this is the Elevate Renatus team call. It looks like as of right now, we have 53 participants. That is super awesome. Continue to invite your team. We don't want any ICMs left behind. So Christian Sadler normally trains today, and he let me know that he was unable to make it this morning. So what I'll be doing is just sharing my story, and then I will open up the call to any questions. And I actually have a question myself for everybody, and I just would love some feedback. And I'm talking just a little bit softer today because I'm staying with a friend, and I believe they're still sleeping upstairs. So I want to respect that. So if you want me to speak up or you can't hear me, please let me know. Just going to check the chat real quick. All right. Good morning, everybody. Woohoo! I'm excited. All right. So this picture of Michael and I, let's see. Sorry, just a little bit shaky this morning. There we go. Okay. So I just want to start off with saying I'm so grateful for Michael and Vanessa. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be where I am with Renatus. I probably wouldn't know about Renatus because before I found this company, I wasn't interested in business ownership or real estate. And it wasn't that I wasn't interested, I was just unaware. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I am just so grateful for Michael and Vanessa. They're so amazing. All right, so a little bit of my background and how I got into Renatus and what it's done for my life so far. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's so amazing to be back in my hometown. Yesterday, I drove around my neighborhood and actually spoke with the woman who lives in the house I grew up with, or that I grew up with. So I grew up with my amazing parents and my awesome older brother. My mom was a full-time nurse working nights most of the time, while my dad was a safety administrator at a large factory. Both of them worked 5 days a week, and this is all I really knew growing up. Seeing my mom and dad wake up, go to work, come home, make dinner, go to bed, and pretty much do it all over again. During my school years, I did mess around a lot. I didn't take school very seriously. I was unmotivated. I was distracted. I didn't really understand how people were able to focus and study, get good grades, and have fun at the same time. So I kind of gave up the rest and just had fun. I didn't have those habits or the self-discipline, and I was unaware of this at the time. I was shy, and I kept myself from asking questions. If I didn't know something, I would kind of just keep quiet. And I had no idea how much that was actually holding me back from learning. And it's like, I was just afraid to ask, and just what a silly thing. So I'm really glad that I've overcome that. So I struggled through school. I barely graduated. I graduated in 2007 from Olympus High School. College was about the same, just unmotivated. I didn't really feel good about myself. I was kind of in a weird phase of my life in college. My parents had just moved to a different state. I was frustrated. I was confused. And I compared myself to others a lot. And, I thought everyone else had it all figured out and that I was the one who didn't. I didn't want to continue going to college unless I knew what I was going for. So I just stopped and I focused on my work. Around this time, I was an assistant manager for the lifeguard team at the rec center in Holiday, Utah, Holiday Lions Fitness Center, if you've heard of it. And around this time, I met my sweetheart and soulmate of 13 years now, Casey Johnson. And it was through Casey that I met Michael and Vanessa Huggins. Casey and Michael grew up across the street from each other, went to high school together, and they were the best of friends. So we'll fast forward about 8 years. And in 2016 is when I decided to join Renatus. Michael had mentioned to us over the years, to Casey and I over the years, this new business venture of his, and we were just not having it. Closed-minded, I guess. We were comfortable with our situation. We didn't really even want to see a presentation. So I had gotten into the banking industry, not on purpose, but it was a decent job, so I hung on to it. Mute. And Casey and I also ended up moving to Arizona about 6 years ago, because Casey had a job opportunity and it was easy for me to just transfer to a bank from Utah to Arizona. So during this time, I discovered a network marketing company that sold essential oils. And with me being really passionate about health and natural remedies, I fell in love with the idea of a holistic approach to well-being. And this also opened my eyes to entrepreneurship. I worked on building this essential oil business part-time while working full-time. And after about a year of losing hundreds of dollars every single month, I was very frustrated, not only because of the loss of money, but also because of my upline. Bless her heart, she was doing her best, but she had given me some incorrect information regarding taxes in business. And I definitely understand that, ultimately it's up to me to do my due diligence. So anyway, thanks to one of Jack Canfield's success principles, take 100% responsibility of your life. And if you haven't read that book, read it. Jack Canfield, Success Principles. I realized that it was not my upline's fault, but my own fault for not doing my own research on the tax information that she had shared with me. So nonetheless, I no longer wanted to build that business. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. I got a call from Vanessa Huggins. She invited me to an all-women's network marketing event in Las Vegas. She would be meeting me there with a group of her Renatus girls from Utah, and then I drove up with a group of Renatus girls from Phoenix. We were meeting Vanessa there, and I carpooled with all these girls from Phoenix that I didn't even know, but if they knew Vanessa, then I trusted them. I was surrounded by a group of empowered, independent females who were all building a real estate investing and marketing business. I was super inspired. And because I had been in network marketing, I was actually very motivated by Renatus's earning plan. And it was the earnings plan that got me to start out with the combo. I had a good job and good credit, so Michael connected me with Credit Nerds, and I'm so grateful for Credit Nerds. They approved me for over $30,000 in 0% credit lines. So as soon as I got those lines, I purchased my full combo in cash, and it was like the scariest thing I've ever done. I didn't start making or marketing right away, which I know is common for most people. There's some chats. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay and everything's good. Okay, cool. It took me about 6 months to realize that marketing was going to help me get the ball rolling. And I had a story in my head that I didn't want to reach out to everybody that I had already reached out to for my oil business the previous year. I was afraid of rejection. And if you can relate, I recommend watching the YouTube video, What I Learned from 100 Days of Rejection. It's a really incredible video. I'm actually going to rewatch that because it's been a while. So once I started marketing the education, I was 5-star qualified within 6 months. In June of last year, I fired my boss. And this month, actually, not this month, sorry. Back in March, I sold my first fix and flip, where my partner and I earned over $42,000. That's like, I just couldn't even believe that we earned over 42K. It was just incredible. That's more than I made in a year working as a personal banker. So aside from the amazing income this deal provided, I was able to help out a family member in need by purchasing this house from her. Her sister was just really struggling. It was a hoarder situation, and we needed to get her out of there. So it was very amazing to help a family member and help myself as well. Even though I have been in Renatus now for 3 years, I feel like I'm just getting started. A lot of what needed to happen was personal growth, which kind of lines up with the quote that I shared today. I have come leaps and bounds from where I was 3 years ago, and it's really because of just the atmosphere that Renatus provides, the personal development, the leadership trainings, just getting outside of your comfort zone on a regular basis. Like hosting these calls was one of the scariest things. When Michael asked me to do this, of course I said yes, but this kind of stuff really makes me nervous. And if you heard me when I first started back in September, there's definitely been a lot of growth. And just, like I said, over the last 3 years with Renatus, it's been incredible, the type of growth that I've experienced. I was standing in my own way for the longest time, and I didn't even know it. So I'd like to give a quick shout out to my local teams in Arizona. Thank you, Scottsdale Leadership, for the numerous opportunities to face and overcome my fear of public speaking. I get to share my story in front of the room almost every single week. And I had the privilege of being MC for Super Saturday once, and I've just been doing all kinds of little trainings. It's been amazing. I've also joined Toastmasters. Toastmasters has helped me so much, and I'm starting to develop relationships with the people in my Toastmasters group. And I'm surrounded by such incredible people, and I just love everything right now. I love my life. I never thought that I would be running my own business, making my own schedule, planning and designing the life of my dreams, tools and resources to make it a reality. So thanks to Renatus, I went from frustrated, confused, settling for a job with a mindset of scarcity to being empowered, liberated with a mindset of abundance. I'm super excited for this regionals event this weekend. I hope that you guys are all going to regionals. They're very, very powerful events, and, you know, invite guests to these meetings. So that's pretty much my story. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about my story or just anything about what I shared. Feel free to come off of mute or type in the chat. And Ashley, please, Toastmasters, do it. It's so amazing. And I'm also going to just check out the chat, see what we've got going on. Pixel, you're welcome for putting the calls on YouTube. I do my best to get it on the same day. Sometimes it's the next day, like yesterday's isn't up yet. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, but I have a question for everybody. I'm building for events, of course, and I've been reconnecting with a lot of old friends and acquaintances, and I definitely want to respect the relationship and not just sound like I'm only reaching out to invite them to an event, because, you know, I definitely want to rebuild the relationships, and if they end up being interested in this, perfect, and if not, perfect. Either way, I'm good. So I really am just restarting or reconnecting with a ton of people, and it's amazing. One person reached out to me. They've been seeing my posts. They're super interested in learning about this. And I just want to know what people's response is to "I'll try and make it." You're welcome, Sumari. So when people say "I'll try," like if it was a cold lead that called a street sign, I would handle that very differently than I would with a friend that I've just reconnected with and I want to respect. So if anyone has a suggestion for the "I'll try" comment, like "I'll try and make it," you know, "This sounds really cool, I'd love to go, I'll try." Yeah, I kind of don't want to accept the "I'll try." So
Hey Keely.
Hey,
It's Billy.
what's up, Billy?
Hey, is this for the invites that you're getting for this week for the regional?
For tonight, yeah.
So, and it's, I can't say it's too late, but are you, when you've invited them for this meeting, like, have you stressed like kind of almost a one, because like most of the time we have more than one meeting, right? So we've got a tour, we've got the meeting next week and the week after and the week after. But this is a really special event, almost
Right.
a one-time deal. Like, hey, this is the only time of the year we do this. You know what I mean? Do they understand the urgency and the scarcity of this event, being that like try to make it? They're saying they're trying to make it, even though, or do they think that there's other events still?
They don't think that there's other events. He said some stuff came up, so he's going to try and make it. And so I just want to, just like you said, emphasize that, you know, don't try, just come.
How did you leave the conversation then? Okay, let me know if you can come, or did you say, hey, I'll follow back up with you to see what your schedule is, or to see what you're able to do?
So it started out like, he's like, "I'm super excited, you know, I've dipped my toes in real estate and I really would love to hear more about what you're doing." And when I told him about the event, he's like, "What are the details? I want to bring other people." So he was like going to bring a bunch of people with him. And then when I was asking for his email to get him registered, I didn't hear for several days. And then just this morning, he said, "I had some stuff come up, but I'm going to try and make it." So, and he provided his email and phone number. So I haven't responded yet.
Got it. Okay. So typically, or I shouldn't say typically, I mean, in that case, I definitely want to try to get him on the phone versus text through it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you can ask some questions, but you know, I think that if you can ask him again, why, remind him of what he told you. Obviously, you have to go back to that reason he'd be going in the first place. But, man, that's tough. The biggest thing is like, you can even start out with, I always think of Avis in that commercial when people say that. Like, I'll try, you know what I mean? I'll try. Okay. You know what I mean? But then Avis is like, try harder. You know what I mean? So it's like, try doesn't work. Right.
Right. There is no try.
Right. There's no try. So, if you let him know, I would just have to ask him, if there was something, you'd have to give an analogy. If literally he was going to go to a doctor and the doctor was like, this is the opportunity I have to see you, or otherwise I can't see you for a year, would you try to make it? You know what I mean? And you can explain to him, because you want to
Yes.
create that. You know what I mean? You've got, and you can laugh about it when you're talking to him. You'd be like, listen, I know it's not the doctor, but it might as well be, because it's your financial health. Like,
yes.
This event is so important. I wouldn't even be asking you to come.
Right.
If it wasn't the fact that I'm here all the way from Arizona. And that's why, because it's that important. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I would leverage this event, is that it's a once a year event.
Right. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Really
Keely, it's
that.
Marcia.
Hi, Marcia. How are you?
You can hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
So I'm assuming, but let me clarify. Have you already built rapport with this individual so you know what they were in the past, or what they've experienced in the past, what they're doing currently, and what they want their future to look like?
This is an acquaintance from like junior high who reached out to me saying they want to learn more about what I'm doing. And so I don't really know this guy that well, but I just, I know of him because we went to school together.
I would definitely tap into the whole building rapport as a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Just, what have you done in the past? What are your experiences? What are you doing now? How is that working for you? And what do you want your future to look like? Because in that conversation, you're going to find their pain point. And when you find their pain point, and I know this is a gross analogy, but you want to pick at that wound.
Yes.
You really want to pick at it. It's like, well, you'll find the pain point is, well, I'm not happy in my job. Well, why aren't you happy in your job? What are you doing that you don't like? What are you doing that you like? And when you find the like, identify that like within some sort of a real estate investing strategy or within our marketing opportunity strategies, and try to tie his likes to something we offer.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
So I hope that kind of helped a lot of other people too, who might experience people saying, I'll try and make it. Because usually when they say I'll try, that ends up in a no-show. So I hope that's helpful for everybody. And thank you so much, Bill and Marcia. Love you guys so much. My buddies from Arizona. Does anyone have any questions? Like, not for me, but just in general for, your business? We've got a ton of amazing people on this call. We've got 68 people. Let's have a good discussion. We've got 35 minutes. 35 minutes. So type in the chat or come off mute, ask some questions. Make it important to see them in person. What is your year goal and how are you going to achieve it? Yes. And I've been starting out most of my conversations that I've been reaching out to old friends, and that's been what I've said is I'd love to catch up and see you. So that definitely works. Anybody have anything they want to talk about?
Hey, Keely, this is Jeremy. Can you hear me okay?
What's up, Jeremy?
Hey. So I've been having this conversation, and I
think you just muted yourself.
Can you still hear me?
Now I can. Okay. Can you start over?
Yeah. So I've had this question of several times. How is it, and I'd love to hear from several other people, how do you balance taking your education classes and your marketing activity? And then what is your basic structure for taking classes so that you have that content to share with people in your life saying, hey, look, here's what I just learned. I mean, I know what schedule I'm putting together and what type of, where I listen in my car, or I listen, in early morning before the impacts and the elevate call. But I'd love to hear from a few people. How is it that you structure in your day? Because in my world, if it's not structured, it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if I don't schedule it, or if I don't put some practice in existence, it's just a fairy tale. But I'd love to hear from people about what structures are you putting in around your education as well as your marketing to have them both work.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question, Jeremy. Thank you so much for coming out and asking. I'll answer real quick with mine. I forget who it was. I think it was Kevin Lawrence from our Scottsdale team. But they recently shared that they will watch their class like first thing in the morning for maybe an hour or two. And so I recently picked that up within the last week because I found myself really not watching classes. And that's not what I got into this for, was to not watch my classes. So when they shared that, I hadn't really thought about doing it, first thing in the morning. And so it's like after these calls, I'll spend an hour and watch an hour of class, and then I get into my marketing. And so, these calls are such an amazing way to start your morning, and then follow that up with some of our excellent education, whatever it is that you're focusing on in the education. And then you've got this call as a foundation for your morning, the education, so whatever you learned in that hour. And so you've got that to start, you've got all of that good information in your mind to start out with your marketing calls. And obviously that's going to be different for those who are working. So please, anyone else come out and share what your structure is for that.
Keely, it's Marcia again.
Hey, Marcia.
I actually completely 1000% agree. Tackle it first thing in the morning, Jeremy, even if it's only 15 minutes, because ultimately the key is consistency. Figure out how to do it every day. If it was you were diabetic and you needed a shot every day, like try to wrap your head around some sort of a concept that works for you. That was a gross analogy, but
you and your analogies.
I know, right? But figure out a way that, yeah, this is my lifeline. This is my blood. I need to do that. Even, again, Jeremy, even if it's only 15 minutes a day, it has to be every day. I do take Sunday off, so just for the record. That's all I got.
No, Marcia, I actually really love that, because I think one of the things that I did early on and that I've been guilty of is not really helping and not really indulging with the gravity of what we're dealing with. One of my first ex-combo holders that I sold, they actually have a special needs kid, and he looked at me one day and he said, "Look, I now know how my kid's going to be taken care of." And you talk about diabetes, it's like I've had people in my family who've had, the need to take insulin every day. And if I could actually relate to this, no, this is my daily insulin shot. This is what will take care of my financial health. This will keep me from going that extra way. And it's not, it doesn't have to be really gory, but it hits home. And I appreciate that. That's actually a really good thing for me to put in place. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Billy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, I think you've heard this before, but here's my thought on this, is that actually it's my experience. When I started, you guys, it was only live. So fortunately and unfortunately, it was kind of a two-edged sword, right? So for me, I had to go to class if I wanted to get any knowledge at all. We didn't have it on tape. We didn't have it on CD. We didn't have it online. We had it live at a college, at a hotel. So my thoughts are this on the education. Number one is, if you look at the education from a separate business, it is there for you to learn how to do a particular strategy in real estate or finance. So if you want to study a class, and I agree, study a class every hour, an hour a day or whatever, so you can get some education under your belt. However, if you want to take a strategy and you want to learn it and implement it, and you want to do a fix and flip, or you want to do a certain thing with the education, there's several classes that you need to watch, right? You can't just watch fix and flip day 1 and day 2. You probably want to raising private money. You want to watch negotiations. You may want to watch creative acquisitions. You may want to watch a few other classes, even title and escrow if you're not familiar with that, maybe mortgages. So you're looking at 40 hours of class, 4 or 5 classes to do a strategy at the very least. So if you spent an hour a day, you're talking about 2 months to complete a series of classes that you need to do in order to even get started in a real estate strategy. So if you're coming from a place where I was, where desperation was a must and I had to make money doing real estate, then you may want to consider watching, talking to your 5-star, talking to someone who's done some real estate, and pick some, or the coach Gavin McCaleb on your coaching call, and pick a class, a series of classes that you want to watch and go to school. And if you go to night school, you don't go 1 hour a day. You go to night school as a nighttime lawyer, or you're studying to get your BA at nighttime after work with your children. You still have to go for 3 or 4 hours at night. It's not a joke, but you get it done. That's if you want to study the education and you want to implement it as a second job, but it takes away from your marketing, obviously. In my opinion, the marketing, when you want to implement the education for a marketing strategy, which is very powerful, it's going to be the fastest way to money. It's obviously going to be why we're on this call. It's going to be the way to help yourself move forward in the real estate faster, in my opinion. Then you want to pick a strategy in the education where you don't necessarily need to watch the entire class, because there's a lot of building up. There's a lot of certain things. If you can find inside the class where it's talking specifically about something, then you've got some specifics that you can speak to when it comes to using the education for marketing. You don't need a 6-hour class to tell someone you learned something. You can just understand it. You can do 20 minutes on velocity banking, even 5 minutes on velocity banking, and say, oh my God, this is what I've learned. And they're gonna be like, where'd you learn that? You're like, well, I'm not the instructor, but you've got to come down, right? You're gonna build a strategy of marketing around just a concept, a general 1,000-foot overview of a concept from a fix and flip class, or just one strategy within that class that you can use. You don't need 6 hours of class to use it as a marketing tool. My other suggestion that I tell my whole team every single week when we get on our personal call and I work with my guys and girls in real estate is that we typically write notes, right? We take notes that we think is important, and then we also write down questions. I don't understand this. I might talk to Gavin about that. I'm going to talk to somebody about this, right? We have a question. But I think more importantly than anything, when you're studying this education, is to write down an action step, because typically we may hear an action step, like for example, go door knocking. You have to create a list, you have to buy a list, you have to go door knock, and and this is what you say, right? So we know we need a door knock, but we don't understand exactly what that looks like. We've never done it before, so how do we know? We're listening to them tell us, but someone who might have some experience doing it could help you implement the action step. And that becomes a very easy marketing tool, because now you're actually doing something in the education and you're implementing, you're acting on some of the education you're being taught, and it's a much easier thing to share an experience than to share an idea. So if you could write down your action steps and then talk to your 5-star or talk to someone who's done it, call me, for example, and I can help you implement an action step, and you just go out and knock on one door, you'll be able to tell a story about, holy crap, I was so scared. I was standing out there. It took me 30 minutes to go up to this guy's door and knock on a door. And somebody that's listening to that is going to be like, how did you learn that? How did you even think about that? You know what I mean? Where'd you get your list? And now you're going to have a full conversation based on one little action step from one little part of a class, and that will help your marketing.
I don't think anyone could have answered that any better. That's very amazing points, Bill. Thank you so much. Jeremy, does that help?
Yes, I was actually trying to get back to the point where I could unmute myself. Yeah, that's awesome. I love and I think this is one of my favorite parts of these morning calls. You know, now I've got, instead of, I notice how I've been taking notes was to capture information. And I've set blocks in my day for various things. I've got my reading time, I've got my my class time, but I think going and saying, okay, I'm going to take on this new strategy and dedicating that, and yeah, go ahead and spend an additional 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, but really driving down and saying, okay, I'm going to knock out this class this week, I'm going to knock out this class next week, or this weekend, and really dedicating that. So thank you very much. I really appreciate, Marcia, Bill, both of you, and your contributions here.
Awesome. And another important point there is to take action. At least one action step per class, but I would say at least one action step per segment of each class. It's one thing to be watching our classes, it's another thing to be actually taking action. And like Bill said, that's what actually leads to really great conversations. And you're able to answer people's questions with knowledge and experience. What other questions do people have? What struggles is anybody experiencing?
I'll throw a
Hi,
question out there.
Yeah. Hi. This is Roman out of Colorado.
Hi, Roman.
Hello. Good morning. My question is, I think it applies not only to me, I think it applies to some people in our own community. I know that personally, I've been having a lot of stuff going on in my life, and that there are some weeks where I don't have any guests, and I haven't been doing real estate lately. So I'm just reaching out to you to say, like, what if this has ever happened to you, and two, like, what drives you to keep showing up? Because that has been a huge struggle for me. Sometimes in the past, it's like, well, why do I show up if I don't have a guest or really any value to bring if I'm not actually doing anything?
Yeah, I think that's a common struggle when people don't have guests and they say they've seen the presentation already, and they might not be motivated to continue to go. A couple of things is I've been going to the Thursday night presentation for 3 years now, almost every single week, especially the last 2 years. I've been very, very consistent with going each and every week, regardless if I have a guest or not. And I continue to learn, and eventually I'd love to be able to do the presentation myself. So what an amazing thing to be able to go and review all of this amazing information that we learn, even just from our intro presentation. Like, I don't know, to me, it just doesn't get old. And another part is, this is something I kind of learned from Michael from the very beginning, was like, I know when he first got started, he just dove in and got as involved as possible. And he became part of the registration team. And, he, just like Christian Sadler shares, you show up early to events and you leave late, and you do whatever you can to help. And so I've become a part of our hospitality team in Scottsdale. We actually have like a little schedule that we create each month, just so that we know for each event that we're going to have enough registrars, that we're going to have greeters at the door welcoming people when they come in. We even have ushers who show people seating and, the best way to seat everybody, show everybody where to go. So I've become a part of our hospitality team, and it's done a lot of good things for my business. I've created relationships with people in the group, and that's another key, is when you're showing up to every event, you are building relationships with those who are also taking the business as seriously as you by showing up consistently. So when you do come across a deal, or you do come across someone who's interested, your team is going to be more than happy to assist you in pretty much anything that you need with your business, because they know that you're serious because you are consistently showing up, versus the person who shows up once a month and then they come asking for help, and you're probably going to get some help anyway, because that's just who we are. But there's going to be an abundance of help when you are showing up consistently. So that's kind of my take on that. What does anyone else have to suggest?
I just want to echo what Keely said. I totally agree 100%. When you're consistently showing up and you're serving and helping, then your relationships are cultivated inside of Renatus, and you get to know those people that have money possibly, or other things. And when you serve let me just give you an example. We serve in our Arizona team as well. And because my husband does a lot of, he'll help facilitate stuff, and I'm a part of the registration. Like, we know certain people, and it has seriously helped our business grow, especially on the real estate side. He has a lot of people that reach out to him and say, I have this deal, what should I do? Stuff like that. And it helps build it. So if you have the time to show up early or just stay later and it looks like they have it together, usually they always can use an extra helping hand. So I think that's totally big with what Keely was saying, is just taking the time to give back when you can. You don't have to be expected to help all the time, but if you're able to, it really will just accelerate everything you're doing in your Renatus business.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Keels.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Thanks for opening this up.
Yeah.
This is a good question, in my opinion, and it's probably one that is more common than anything. Everybody is excited out of the gate. I know a lot of people that even volunteer relatively quickly. You want to, you're excited about everything, but the excitement wears off, and the monotony sets in, because I got to tell you, folks, I can't imagine that if I was not building a business or doing real estate, I would not go Thursday night. If I was not doing the presentation, I mean, you guys, you're seeing the same thing over and over again. Some people are making money, or a lot of people are doing deals, or both, and you're not, and you're not having a guest. It is pointless, right? Like, or after a certain period of time when it wears off. And so that is the one thing where I say, in my belief system, is never, ever learn to quit, right? So in order to alleviate some of that, in order to not fall into that common trap, that common lull in the Renatus career, in my experience, not only with myself but my team, when I see people go away, it's so hard. It's so hard, because I try to text them and call them, and they just can't get themselves to come. And so the number one thing, in my opinion, is consistently building your business. If you are building a business and you're not doing it very well, or at least I should say to your standard, meaning that you're not having the financial success, which is the beginning, right? When someone gets enrolled, when you're not even having guests as much as you'd like, which is the beginning, which is see the people, right? And they're not coming to the events, then it's easy to get discouraged from going. So in that case, if you stay consistent and you constantly are working towards a business, and then the business doesn't succeed as fast or as well as you'd like, going to the meetings brings purpose, because you now are motivated to do better and have a better, quicker result. So you need, in our system, the way it's set up, you need to be there in order to gain that knowledge, experience from others, connect with others, as Marcia and Keely said, build those relationships so that you can build your business. But if you don't have a goal to build your business, and you don't have, if it's not something you're constantly working on every week, like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine, this is the way I look at it. I owned 4 Play It Again sports stores for a long time. Like, we were open 7 days a week. During the holidays, we were open much longer than we were during normal times, but we were open from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. every single day. And imagine if, like, you only were open a certain time of each week and a certain time during the day just for that period, and then no one showed up during that time. It's like, I really don't need to be open that day. I'm not really open on Friday anyway, because I take Fridays off. Like, and we start to think, and over time, we shut the doors even longer and longer because there's no reason to be opening the door. We're not having sales anyway while the doors are open at the time that we do it. But we don't operate a business that way. We operate a business all of the time during the time the customer is available, right? And so in that, when no customers are showing up, what do we do when those customers are showing up to a store? We advertise more. We're like, I got to get the word out. I got to start telling people. I got to put my stuff on sale. I got to have a sale. I've got to build more. I got to buy more inventory. I got to bring more stuff in the store. I got to get something new. I got to go to a trade show. I got to go learn from my other people. How are they selling stuff? I got to go in front of McDonald's and start steering the traffic over to my store. We start to think of all these things that we got to do to increase our own business. But the reason we're doing that is because we have a store that's open. If we have a store that's closed, we're not going to do those things. We're going to be doing something else. So that it is the hardest thing in Renatus, in my experience in 10 years in real estate and business. If there's no business going on, we're not going to go do the things that create the business. It's a catch-22. So the way that we get past that or get back into that or don't ever learn to quit and come on Thursday nights, every single Thursday night and every single Super Saturday is we do it for a reason. And the reason is we're building our business every week. It's not going the way we want it to go. And so we need to learn how to make it a little better, a little faster, see who's getting motivated by getting 5-star qualified faster than me, get pissed off at some of the people that are doing better than me or whatever it is that's going to motivate you. And just like Marcia and Keely said, build these relationships. You get to see them every week. Then now your relationship's building. And if you are doing okay and you start to have some traction and you get a few guests, that's the even more reason to be there, because then all the people that are making money are also at the meeting because they are making money sharing their story, which is going to be you when you're making money and sharing your story and having guests and all those things and making the top 10. But it absolutely has to start, Keely, with having the commitment every single week when you're not at the meeting that you're doing something to give you a reason to go to the meeting. Does that help?
Yeah, that definitely helps. Just just being served definitely not only like a great transit for community, but it's motivation. Thank you.
Yep.
And don't forget, if you don't need the meeting needs you. So either way, get to the meeting, because the relationships that Amanda, Keely, and Austin are referring to, at some point, I don't want to leave my peeps hanging. But I have the cool part of being in service. I get to hug everybody. And with my background, that's a red flag. So I've come a long way. So do your best to align with, remember the drive system. Do your best to align with other relators, other validators. And it'll help you show up at that meeting. Because like Keely said, she's been going like every Thursday. I've been going every Wednesday. And it helps. So the meeting needs you, Roman.
Yes. So amazing, you guys. I love Renatus. I love our team. I hope that helped a handful of people. I saw that Ashley had a question regarding people who have a bit of a drive. How do you get someone that lives over 70 minutes away from a meeting to get them to a meeting? And I think that goes back to the motivation. I know a handful of people that drive 2 hours to the meeting and 2 hours home from the meeting, 2 hours each way just for the Thursday night. And, Dave Jaquish, one of our leaders in Scottsdale, did that for a very long time. And even like Bill said, Bill had to, this isn't not the event, but the education, Bill had to dedicate a whole day to go watch a class where we have this at the tip of our fingertips online. But again, it goes back to motivation, and also to take advantage of our online videos. Maybe start out with sending them a video. The AMP videos, if you haven't set that up, set up your AMP website and send the link to that person who's 70 miles away. Have them watch the quick 5-minute video with Bob, or maybe the intro with Michael, or, there's a ton of videos, and send that to them. And after they watch that, if they're still intrigued, then have them maybe come out to a meeting and meet you. Yes, Ahmed, the Thank you, Ashley. These are on YouTube. So go ahead and just go on YouTube, type in Elevate Renatus, and you'll find all of these. But yeah, what else does anyone have to recommend for someone who lives far away?
Hey, Keely.
Bill.
Hey, there was actually one thing I was going to say too,
Yes.
and it wasn't. I'll get to that, but there's another person that said, I didn't know who it was. They said they're getting frustrated because they can't buy into the education.
Yes, please touch on that.
Yeah, and here, this is what I think, you guys. This is key. Is that there's many people like on this call probably and across the country that experience this. And so I had a guy who took him 4 months to get the education, and I mean, literally would come and people were starting to give him a hard time as in poking fun at him, just be like, are you gonna buy? If you don't buy today, you can't show up next week, right? We're really busting on him. But here's what I find about getting frustrated when you're coming to these events and you really can't do anything, or can't's the wrong word. You're not doing anything. You're waiting to get your funding and it's not happening, right? Number one is, in my opinion, you're going to hear of different ways that even the same way, but a different way to fund the same way to fund it. So you're going to hear things when you're looking for this information, when you're trying to fund, and that's your focus, and you're going to these meetings and you're talking to people and learning their stories about how they funded, even though you know you can borrow money from a 401k or something, and you don't have one, or your mom doesn't have one, and you're not able to do that. There might be some other twist to that 401k, some other person or something like that. Like Marcia said, and Keely, you're going to develop relationships where there is a potential. You may befriend somebody who may be your angel investor right inside of Renatus. That doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. But most importantly, you're going to create a value. And when we want something as a human nature, and there's value beyond belief, then we'll do whatever. We'll steal for it, right? We will break the law. And I don't suggest breaking the law. I've done that enough in my life, and it's not a good option. But we will do whatever it takes when the value is there, and not that you don't already have the value, but it's not there to where you're willing to beg, borrow, or steal for it. And so a combination of those things will come to fruition when you are constantly going with one purpose only, and that is to find the money, figure out a way to get started. And here's the coolest thing about this. When you're in that situation, I promise you, you will have tens of, if not hundreds of people over your small Renatus career of inviting people that are on your team that want to get started and can't. And when you overcome that story, when you can lead by that example, when you are the one who went through the same thing these folks are going to go through, and you persevered, they are going to follow you. They're going to do the same thing, and you're going to have combo sales you wouldn't normally have. And you're going to have team members that might have quit. So that is, even, in my opinion, even a more greater reason to go to these events and not get frustrated and not give up, and to focus 100% on not real estate, not, you can focus on inviting, but focusing on the money and where you're going to get it, and talking to anybody you can once a week at each meeting to say, hey, how did you fund? Let me know if you know anybody who could help me get funded. These are my resources. So anyway, that's my thought.
Thank you, Bill. Awesome. I think this has helped a lot of people. Was someone going to say something? Sorry.
Hello. Yes, it's Sumari. How are you?
Sumari.
Hi. So, I saw the message about the 2 hours drive, the 70 minutes drive, and that's just remind me, like, Zach, remind me Linda, and other people from the office. And I think it's just find a purpose, and like Keely say, like, help someone, and just start to just text these people, find these people by Facebook, and talk to them about your frustration, about what happened. You need to share it too. Not just hold, oh my God, this is too much, I cannot handle this. It's just, you need to speak, and you need to step up and just tell people, like, this is how I feel. can you connect me with someone who have the same experience? And you can always text Zach. You can always text Linda Williams, where she come from Tucson, to our meetings in Scottsdale and Phoenix. And I think it's just about speak and don't hold anything with you, because you're just gonna create stories that are not real. And if you maybe help someone in doing something outside, if you are not part of the community, you stay around. I have some people in the line that want to sign up, and I tell them, you know what, be around of us. If you need to take a coffee for 2 hours just to wait and see us and be pumping up all night to see us working, do it. And they come to the meetings, and they are not part of Renatos yet, but they have the permission to stay outside around. Why? Because they get inspired, because they gonna feel and start to feel how it's be part of the community. And I have like 10 people, 7 to 10 people in the line. They gonna sign up. They want, like, there are combos. They are 2,000, whatever. I don't care. I want them just be around, because I want from that to them. I want the financial freedom and that happiness that I know that we create like community. So just get inspired. Don't no like, I love the videos, but don't stay home, because you're never gonna find a way how to do it. Don't stay home. Like, people drive more than that to the meetings, and it's not something new. It's just to your commitment, and just like create that. If you are creating the story, I cannot, just create the story, I can.
Sorry, that's so awesome. Go ahead.
No, I say love you guys.
Oh, we love you, Samari. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing that. That was powerful.
Bye.
That's very true.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it would be powerful to introduce that person to someone who has driven that far. So maybe reach out to some of your team and see if they know anyone who's driven further than that, or reach out to Samari, find out who it was that was driving longer than 2 hours, and introduce them to the person maybe after they've gotten some intrigue. So cool. It is 8:58. Does anyone have any last comments or thoughts or questions?
Hi, this is Malaya.
Hi, Malaya.
And I live in Prescott, and I drive all the way down to Phoenix on Wednesdays with my husband. And I just met 2 other people that also drive down singly. And so we're going to start carpooling.
Awesome.
Yeah, baby.
And I drive it's almost, I can make it an hour and a half. I don't know that anybody else should, but that's how I do it. But yeah, so, you just, once you get out there and you start networking within even just Renatus, and you find out, oh, you're coming all the way from there, you just hook up with them and you start. And then once you build your team, and then in your area, then you could just start, carpooling with them.
I love it.
So that's my take on all of it. And as far as being motivated, you never know who you're going to meet at these meetings. It's like going to a party. You never know who you're going to meet at the party that you're going to start dating or get in business with or become best friends with. And so it's just, that's how I view going to Renatus every Wednesday.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just one last question. Does anyone else want to come out and say that they specifically drive further than an hour or 2 to the meetings each week? I think we might be surprised at how many people actually do that currently, whether they're on the call or not. We've dropped about 20 people, so it's at the top of the hour. I'll respect everyone's time. Did someone just come off mute that wanted to share something?
Well, that was just me. I drive like an hour every week. And I relate a lot to the persons that said that, why should I didn't understand quite well what I was doing at first, because I joined Renatus for one reason and I went for that reason only, and then I stay away. And then I found that I could do more.
Right.
And
There's so much more.
yeah, there's so much more. So I'm still in the process, and believing, and how can I do it? How can I do it? But I show up every week, consistently, every week. And I relate to forget, but you get to think which